Living small doesn't have to mean living cramped. This is going to be so much fun because today I'm going to take you around my house and I'm sharing 10 ways that we've maximized our space so that you can maximize space in your home. Because if there's one thing I've learned from living in a downsized home is that you can make anything work. You just have to know how. I got so excited about that list that I almost forgot to introduce myself. My name is Bren, and I love to share my ideas on how we can simplify what doesn't matter in our lives so that we can make space for what does. Now let's get started on that list. A lot of us are choosing to live in a downsized or smaller home these days. It's just so expensive. And if that's you, you might be asking yourself, how am I going to make space for things like a guest bedroom or an office? In reality, we can make adjustments and make it all work. Right now, we're going to focus on the office space that we created for my husband after the pandemic started and he needed a place to work. After he's done with work, it all goes into these 3 carts. It's wheeled and we just roll it right on over to the side of our storage cabinet. Now, if you look at these risers on the desk, those go compactly inside one another, and then I invert those and then put his monitor inside of that. Those go on top of the cart, and again, it just slides right over on the side. I have an entire video that goes over how we manage to have my husband in here and all of the other activities that we do in the same room. So I will make sure to link that one below. And how do we make a guest space work without actually having a designated room for it? Well, we have a room downstairs that is sort of a little hangout spot. It's a secondary small family room / exercise room. Again, it already has multiple purposes, but for the few times a year where we actually have guests, it works out just fine. Now, if I were starting this from scratch, I would definitely suggest to you that if you're going to get a couch, might as well get one of those roll-out couches where it has a bed attached. And that way you don't have to do the blow-up bed option. But I will tell you this, no one has ever complained about saving over $100 a night by staying with us. Window coverings can make or break how a small home feels, whether it feels like you have maximum space or minimal space. I have film over the top section of my window here, and we have a fence over here, so it's not like anybody could see in the bottom. But I wanted to show you this because it's an alternative to heavy window covers. They take up space. They really do. They do not maximize your space. So if you have heavy window drapes, highly consider putting something like this in its place, or even blinds, because you can open the blinds up and just let the light in during the day. Clean lines versus ornate. That can make all the difference in how much space a piece of furniture takes up, right? One example that comes to mind is those big Pottery Barn entertainment centers where you have the TV stand, but it's surrounded on all sides with shelving, like bookshelves or, cubbies and compartments. But these things are a huge space taker. And if you decide to have one of these in your small downsized home, it probably is visually and physically taking up so much space. So I have a suggestion. If it's possible, take part of that system off and just maybe leave the TV stand and see how it feels. You don't have to get rid of it right away. Maybe just put it in another room or in a storage area and live like that for a bit. And then you can make a decision whether it feels better to have it or not. Of course, I can't do a video without suggesting that decluttering is a way to maximize your space in your smaller home. It is by far the best thing that you can do initially, especially when you move into your home. I can't tell you how many van loads of things left our house once we moved in, because I know how it is, because I've been there. There were so many things I thought, oh, I might be able to use this, so I'll bring it. In reality, I didn't need a lot of it, and so it just had to go. And that made my space feel so much fresher and more welcoming and just more comfortable and peaceful. Keeping things we love, we use, and we enjoy, that's what it's all about. so that we can make space for what matters. And that's not always just physical stuff. It's also mental, because our clutter does weigh on us. It weighs on us so much more than we even think that it does. And you'll figure that out if you watch any of the videos that I'm going to put down below for you. That'll give you more inspiration and motivation, because once you start decluttering, once you start parting ways with some of these things that you thought that you need, but you actually didn't, your space is just going to seem so much bigger, so much brighter, and you're going to be just like me, so much happier. I almost forgot this tip. So I just got back from the gym and I had to stick it in. Usually bedrooms in smaller homes are small, right? And trying to fit one of those oversized nightstands makes things feel cramped. Bedrooms should be peaceful, not stressful. Now, as you can see here, my daughter has a desk in place of a nightstand. I think it is a great option if you're tight on space and you have a room like she does, where she wanted to put in a small little living room after her sister moved out. And she just needed space, so she couldn't fit a nightstand and her desk and everything else. In addition to a desk, you can always use a rolling cart, or you can even use a stool or a small dresser, or a very small little nightstand just like this. You don't have to get a traditional one. Just look at all of the things that she fit in this room, all of her activities that she loves, including her cute little cat, June. Say hi, June. If you have multiple activities that you want to accomplish in your bedroom, maybe even you have a studio apartment, because I kind of think this looks like a little studio apartment. You can get really, really creative when it comes to your nightstand solutions. The scale of anything that we put in our home can maximize or minimize our space for sure. And this can be especially important in a smaller home. Now, if you moved into a downsized home like I did, you might have thought, just like me, that you could fit all of the furniture that you had before in your home and it would work out perfect. But if that's not the case, don't be afraid to do what my dad always said, which is make it right. You have to make it right in your space because you just don't want to feel cramped. And that was a super big concern of mine, because this island is actually one piece my family absolutely loves. And I was so worried if it would fit or not in this house. But it did. We got so lucky. If I were to choose gigantic bar stools, for instance, though, you can imagine how it would not be easy to walk around this space, right? It would be a hindrance. We'd have to kind of maneuver ourselves around, and nobody would like that. In fact, it might even be a hazard because we could trip. We're kind of a klutzy family, me especially. If you have moved into a home that is smaller and you're trying to fit furniture and it just won't work, there are retailers out there that actually cater to smaller homes, such as IKEA. In fact, my bar stools right there are from IKEA and they still offer them. I have nothing but good things to say about them. Those are about 5 years old and they still look new. They just specialize in more smaller spaced furniture, kind of urban living furniture. And that's pretty much us too, because we do live in a metropolitan area that has smaller homes just out of a major city. One major recommendation I have for you when you're selecting furniture is to take measurements. And I'm going to give you a tip that my dad always told me, and that is to make a little kind of cutout of whatever piece of furniture that you're wanting to put into a room and live like that for a few weeks. Basically walk around, see if it comes off the wall like you imagined it would. You don't want to buy a big piece of furniture and have the frustration of not being able to return it, or the frustration of being able to return it, but it's a huge hassle. You don't have to go buy brand new furniture. You can always get it on Facebook Marketplace. But if you're like me, you have to be very, very careful and know in your heart that if it is not right, if something is off about it, that you don't feel bad about walking away. One of the best ways that I found to maximize your storage solution spaces is to go vertical and not horizontal. And a few examples would be the shelf behind me right here, where it is a tall shelf, but it's not wide. And therefore, it takes up space going up and down, and it leaves negative space. If you don't know what negative space is, that is any space on your floor or your walls where nothing is. It's nice to have your eyes get a little bit of a break where there's not something all over the place. When my girls were smaller, we had a big room for them, and I had a shelving unit called the K-Lax, and that is from IKEA. But I didn't have just one. I actually had two pieces shoved together, but it looked like one continuous unit. And it actually was a great illusion of being a built-in, but at a really, really reduced price. I still think that K-Lax shelf is such a good buy. When we moved into this house, I thought, oh, I could put those shelves the same way that they were. The width of them took up so much wall space that they would not have had room for anything else. But when I turned them vertical, that made all the difference. So if you're thinking about adding any furniture to your home, or maybe you have something like mine, like the K-Lax that was adjustable, you can turn that upright and create negative space. Closed storage solutions are one of the absolute best things that you can do to maximize space in your home. And I have the perfect example for you. Right behind me is a replacement of something that I made a big mistake on. And that is, I had a gigantic wall shelf. It spanned this entire wall here. Let's just say this thing was way too big for my space, and it really made it feel enclosed and small. But I had all sorts of Pinterest-worthy ideas for my imaginary self in my imaginary home that I was going to implement on here. I was going to have beautiful displays of things from travel, from trips that we took. I was going to display some of my husband's favorite books. The day that that thing left was one of the best days that I've had in this home on any mistakes that I've made. So if you're overwhelmed in your space, take a look around. Do you have any gigantic display shelves like this that are not only open displays where they might have something pretty on them, but they've actually turned into a clutter catcher? Things just gravitate to these pieces, right? And before you know it, they are absolutely a hindrance to your space, and they minimize your space versus maximizing it. If I were to move my TV in the center of this cabinet, I would have about 10 to 15% of space left on the cabinet on each side in addition to my TV. And that just allows for some decorative items. It also allows you to visually see that the proportion is right. Another thing that people try to do is put their TV up above their fireplace. I really thought about that, but then I decided against it because every time I practiced and I put my neck up like that, I just thought there's no way that I can do this comfortably. And really with our family, I don't know how all of us could fit in this space and do that either. I've seen another thing too where they put it on a wall, but then again, you have to have a small cabinet below it to hide all of the wires and any of the things that you use for your television. I would just buy the right-sized TV stand, and I'm going to show you mine right now all by itself so you could see. If you're moving into a smaller home, you're trying to maximize space, go ahead and get a nice TV stand that fits the right size proportion to your TV. This is a small but very important tip on maximizing your space in a small home, and that is the shape of your furniture really, really matters. And today's example is my brand new coffee table. Visually, it just opens up the room because it's not bulky like my ottoman was. But more than that, the shape is awesome because you can get around it. If you have guests over, they can get around it. If you have a square or rectangular coffee table, that can make it extremely difficult to walk around and navigate. Right now, you can see though, I'm doing a little bit of a project. I'm making Axel the Greyhound a blanket. Let me know in the comments if you've had the same experience with the shape of your furniture and what are the items that really made a difference in your home. Try to have some see-through furniture in your home to maximize your space visually. You can have a see-through coffee table like mine, which is glass, but more than that, the legs are open. You can have a sectional like mine where I have open at the bottom here. It just provides you with the illusion of having more space even if you actually don't. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And while you're at it, make sure that you leave me a comment and say hi. I would love to meet you. And I'll also put some extra videos down below to give you more motivation and inspiration. I post new videos every Thursday, so don't forget to check back with me next week. Until then, and don't forget to check out one of these next videos that YouTube picked out just for you.